So we're standing here today on the old quays, the old medieval quays in Sligo. The first record of ships coming into the Sligo quays was in 1392 when John Simcox brought 8 urns of wine into the old port here in Sligo.
I'm Pat Benson. I'm involved with Sligo Bay Catchment Rivers Trust. I've been involved since its formation. The Trust covers County Sligo and part of Leitrim. We're involved with the All Ireland Rivers Trust movement, working to promote excellent quality standards of all our water bodies. We want to involve local people in promoting, protecting and caring for the local stream or river in their area.
The Water Framework Directive was enacted in Europe in the year 2000, and it has been described as one of the most significant and pioneering pieces of water quality legislation globally. And that's because they've taken a very integrated approach to our waters. So they're not just looking at rivers on their own and groundwaters on their own and lakes on their own, but we're looking at all of our water bodies together.
My name's Shane Sligo. I'm from Strandhill, County Sligo. I heard of the Rivers Trust through our tourism network that we have here in Sligo. For the last 10 years, there's been a group called Adventure Sligo, which is surf schools, mountain bike operators, hikers, people running yoga wellness weekends, that we've all come together to try to promote Sligo as a kind of an outdoor adventure capital, and which has really helped promote tourism and tourism jobs in the Northwest. So when I heard about the Rivers Trust, I would have went along to one of the meetings and been delighted that stakeholders in Sligo are coming together to do something about our natural environment. The natural environment in Sligo means so much, and with all the surfing and outdoor adventure here, there's a very good organic community which will be behind such initiatives.
The Sligo Bay Rivers Catchment Trust covers the entire area of County Sligo, and it stretches all the way from the Donegal border down to Mullaghmore, Ross's Point, Strandhill, out into Eastkey and into Tubbercurry, Lough Arrow and all the water bodies, including Lough Gill and out as far as the Bonnet River in County Leitrim.
Ahoy shippers, you're all very welcome aboard the Rose of Innisfree. My name is Captain David, I captain the ship. If you look up our port stern over here, you see a little flat top hill, kind of tree in the middle of it.
Sligo Port here, this was very important for emigration. Many people from the northwest came here and departed on ships that went to America and Canada. Later on as well, we had the Middleton and Polyphon shipping company, and they were the grandparents of William Butler Yeats, the Irish poet. William Polyphon was one of the largest ship owners here in Sligo, and many of his ships brought people over and cargo to England, to Glasgow and Liverpool, and they ran a service up until the early 1920s.
My name's Alan Spencer. I'm with the Rivers Trust. I'm also with the River Eastkey Angling Association, where I'm one of the committee members. The River Eastkey Angling Association manages approximately 12 miles of the River Eastkey, mainly the middle reaches, and we have worked hard to improve access and generally look after the river.
I'm Lisa Cronin. I work in the ATU in the Environmental Science Department, and I've spent the last 25 years working on water quality. So at the moment I'm involved in a research project with Professor Fiona Regan in Dublin City University, and we are looking at the impact of weather events, particularly rainfall storm events, on water quality in our rivers. So we're doing that in two areas in County Sligo, in the River Unchin and on the River Owenmore. And what we're trying to investigate is, are these heavy rainfall events causing transient pollution in our rivers? So is there movement of nutrients, is there movement of solids, and is there movement of emerging contaminants happening through our rivers that is going on undetected during these events? We are doing that by using water quality sensors. So these sensors are deployed in the river over weeks and months and ultimately over years, and they measure the water quality every 15 minutes. And that gives us a really good idea of what's happening in these water bodies. We can compare it to the level in the river, and we can compare it to the level of rainfall that is happening. And it's really important that we carry out this research, because we know we're seeing a decline in water quality in our water bodies, and we need to find out why. And with global warming, we're expecting to see more of these storm events happening, and we need to be able to protect our water bodies against pollution during these storm events.
So this evening, this is a special culture night event. It's taken in the history and the heritage of the river, and it was organised by Sligo Tidy Towns in collaboration with the Sligo Bay Rivers Trust. And we're starting here in the Old Quay, and we're going to walk along the river, follow the river upstream, stop along by the glass house, which was originally an old mill. Then we'll follow along the river, and from Hyde Bridge, which was Queen Victoria Bridge, along to the old bridge further upstream, and then finishing off on Kennedy's Parade, which was originally known as Cochrane's Mall, and on into Riverside.
Here we are in Riverstown, in the Sligo Bay Catchment area, and behind us is the River Unchin. And the River Unchin is just one of 6 high status water bodies in this catchment. The River Unchin has been described by botanists who carried out surveys here as being of international importance in terms of the rare plants that grow in the river and along its river banks. High status water bodies are very important, not just as reservoirs of biodiversity, but also as reference sites. So under the Water Framework Directive, we're trying to restore all of our water bodies to good status, but we need to know what good and high status looks like. We need to know what healthy water bodies look like, the types of plants and animals that occur in healthy water bodies, and the types of water quality that we should be expecting to see.
Strandhill rests on the Killera Peninsula. The Killera Peninsula is surrounded on 3 sides by water. We have Balsadare Bay, we have the Atlantic Ocean, and we've got Sligo Bay to the north. So there's actually about 70 passage tombs on the Killera Peninsula. We have 3 huge Neolithic stone cairns. We've got one on top of Knocknaray called Meshgal Maeve. We have the Carmore Tombs, which is like the Newgrange on the Wild Atlantic Way. We also have 2 massive cairns on Cairns Hill. So these 3 huge Neolithic 5,000-year-old monuments show that this peninsula was a special area. 1/7 of all megaliths in Ireland are actually in County Sligo. So we have a huge, we've got prehistoric monuments from nearly all periods of history. So, and definitely what's intrinsic to all megalithic monuments is water. So Balsadare Bay is to the south of Strandhill, but you had the Unchin and the Balsadare rivers actually meet, and this would have connected Strandhill with the Carrowkeel complex up in South Sligo. So I'm sure this would have been dominated by oak woodland in the Neolithic period. After the Mesolithic, once the Neolithic farmers started to clear areas and started to become less migratory and more a place called home, where they started to build their monuments to do with remembering their ancestors. So I think the estuaries that would have linked the KG fields up in Mayo, people would have accessed everywhere by water, walking through the oak-dominated forests back then with wolves and all sorts of dangers. Wasn't a really good idea. So the Neolithic people and the Bronze Age people would have access everywhere by boat, and they probably would have had trade with other parts of Europe as well. I think they would have had huge respect for the waterways and for the trees. You know, from the Brehon laws, trees were protected and part of the own alphabet. I can only imagine that they would have at the height of respect and reverence for the natural world.
as part of the Water Framework Directive, there is a requirement to monitor our water bodies and to put measures in place to restore our water quality to at least good status. And we do this by implementing river basin management plans. So we are currently in the third cycle of the river basin management plans, and in the Sligo Bay Catchment, what we've seen is we've seen a 10% increase in our water quality status between the second cycle and the third cycle. We have seen approximately 3/4 of our water bodies remain at the same status, and then we have seen 14% of our water bodies decline. And that is a pattern that we're seeing all across Ireland, where the gains that have been made, so we're seeing a 10% increase in water quality status, but then we're losing status in another 14%. And while we have wonderful pioneering legislation, we can see that that's not enough. And we really need local people to start getting involved in our water bodies if we want to really seriously address our water quality issues. And one of the ways in which we can do that is to get involved in your local Rivers Trust. Rivers Trust are voluntary organisations. They're made up of ordinary people who come together, who look at water quality issues in their area. They identify measures and actions that can be taken to help improve water quality.
Hi Lisa, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Another lovely day in Sligo.
Absolutely, lovely day on the river.
Yeah, let me just explain to the folks here who I am. I'm Niall McAllister. I live on the river, the beautiful river Owenmore here. Very much live and in the river, shall we say. I fish it, we swim it, we kayak it. So water quality to this river is really, really important to me, to be honest with you. Only yesterday I was sitting here and there's kingfisher going up and down. We've got otters, dippers, there's millions of different types of wildlife here, and obviously the quality of the water reflects the wildlife on it, and my interest really is to try and keep it and improve it and make living here better for everyone, really, you know. There's great history here. This bridge behind us here, General Humbert, he crossed the river here in 1796 when they fought the British. There used to be 5 arches there, so believe it or not, that used to be the old Galway-Sligo road. So huge history to the place, as well as the biodiversity and all of that. That's very important. So yeah, really excited to let people know about how great this place is.
So Niall has very kindly agreed to become involved in our research project. So we were looking for a site in Sligo to look at how weather events, particularly rainfall, impacts on water quality. So Niall very kindly agreed to allow us to use his section of river to put a sensor in. So it's a water quality sensor, so it measures the water quality on a continuous basis. So it takes readings every 15 minutes for a number of tests, things like conductivity, temperature, turbidity, dissolved oxygen, and we're monitoring the river every 15 minutes, and then we're looking at that data in conjunction with rainfall data and river level data to see what's happening, particularly during storm events. So we have the data that we can see what's happening during dry weather, and now we also have lots of high resolution data that tells us what's happening when it's raining. We're seeing more storm events due to climate change. We think these storm events are having an impact on water quality, and by partnering with people who live along the river like Niall, we can find out this information, which helps us to manage our water bodies and helps us to improve water quality. There's 4 sensors on this water quality sonde, okay? So one of them measures turbidity, one measures dissolved oxygen, you've got a pH probe and conductivity as well. So we're going to pop this sensor in here now to Niall's river, and we're going to leave it here for a number of weeks, and then we'll remove the sensor again, take the data from it, and then use that data to see, well, what's happening in our river system. So it's really important when we're deploying the sensor that we deploy it in an area that's got enough water. So you need 20 to 30 centimetres of water covering that at least, and the water level in the Owenmore actually rises and falls quite quickly with rainfall, so we haven't had much rain here at all over the past week or so. There's more rain forecast, so we're expecting the water level here to rise.
As far as pollution is concerned, the main issue, I would say, would be the Eastleigh wastewater treatment plant, which discharges sewage into the river. The rest of the river is of good quality. Trout and salmon, clean water is absolutely essential for them to survive and flourish.
We know from monitoring our rivers that where our rivers start, so what they call the headwater streams, is where very often the best water quality occurs. And the deterioration in water quality occurs as water moves down the catchment. So our impact as humans is very significant both on our landscape and on our water bodies. So all our actions have an impact on that water quality as it travels all the way from the source down to the sea.
We're here in the National Surf Centre, which is a building built by Fáilte Ireland to promote surfing in the northwest of Ireland. It's a key piece of infrastructure on the Atlantic Way. We're here in Strandhill, which is one of the #1 surfing beaches in Ireland. I was lucky enough to grow up here and learn to surf at the age of 10 years old. I started bodyboarding and I got involved with Irish surfing and some of the national competitions. I eventually started surfing for Ireland at a European and world level. After college, I kind of got into surf coaching and got an opportunity to set up my own surf coaching business here in Strandhill.
In the Sligo Bay Catchment area, there are 141 water bodies. So included in that are large water bodies, which everybody in this area is familiar with. Areas like Lough Gill, the River Garavogue, the Owenmore River, Lough Gill, the River Easky, Lough Talt, Lough Arrow, the Unshin River, the Owen Beg River, the River Bonnet, and all of those other smaller rivers and streams that we live beside. And of course, all of that water that's flowing through those rivers and lakes ultimately ends up in Sligo Bay, into our coastal waters and along our beaches.
The health of the rivers in the estuarine area is paramount importance. Surfers are always people who spend more time in the water than a lot of people, so we become very aware very quickly as lifelong surfers about water quality. So Strandhill Beach is one of the top surfing beaches in Ireland, and it's got a vibrant surfing community here. I've been surfing here for the last 28 years. And to the south we have Balsadare Bay, and to the north of the beach we have the Garavogue estuary. And so both of these rivers recycle their water into Strandhill Beach. And up on the north end we have some great surfing locations. We have a lovely point break up there beside Sligo Airport. But there's also a sewage treatment plant there. So Sligo surfers, along with surfers in Donegal and Mayo, and even surfers in the UK, there's a great charity over there called Surfers Against Sewage. And worldwide, surfers have been quite vocal in their proponent of having clean water, clean seas, and you can't have clean seas without clean rivers. One of the things Sligo has on offer is our wealth of natural resources like mountains, hills, rivers, and surf. So we have great offerings in the adventure tourism space. There's been a number of businesses which have been set up in the last 10 years, and we've been really helping put Sligo on the map. So having clean rivers, lakes and beaches is essential for that.
Under the Water Framework Directive, water bodies are classified as at risk if they are unlikely to meet the objective of the directive, which is to restore all water bodies to at least good status. So there are 4 main issues in this catchment. Those include agriculture, particularly phosphorus and sediment, forestry, drainage works that are carried out for forestry, and also clear felling. Hydromorphology. What is hydromorphology? So hydromorphology is the physical landscape of our rivers. So that's our river banks and our river beds, the substrate of our river. So when we channel the river, when we dredge the river, when we excavate the river for drainage works or to improve flooding relief, that is one of the major pressures on water bodies in this catchment. And the 4th largest pressure on water quality in the Sligo Bay catchment area is urban wastewater. So when we talk about urban wastewater, we're talking about discharges from sewage treatment plants, discharges from septic tanks, but also urban runoff. So that's the runoff from all our paved areas. So whether it's our patios, our driveways, our footpaths and our roads.
It's very important to have clean rivers. I deal with tourists every day that come to Sligo, and many of my tours we go along the river, and people always notice what's in the river, what the colour it is, and what the general health and state of it is. So it's very important for tourism for the river to be kept clean and generally for it to look healthy.
We want to acknowledge the fantastic support we've received from Sligo Public Participation Network in developing to date. We are grateful for the assistance we've received from the National Body of Rivers Trusts and from the Local Authority Waters Programme. And we want to invite the local people to become involved in ensuring that their local lake, river and stream is actually protected and assisted to reach excellent quality standards that have been set by the statutory authorities.
When we talk about water quality and monitoring of water quality, there are a lot of different aspects to it. So we have our routine monitoring that's carried out by the Environmental Protection Agency, and that's been ongoing for the last 30 to 40 years. Then we have researchers like myself who are carrying out work on specific projects, looking at different aspects of water quality and what might be causing the decline in water quality. And in addition to that, and it's an emerging area that's becoming more and more important, is what's called citizen science. And this is where ordinary people get involved in monitoring their waterways, in carrying out projects on their waterways, because we can't just leave our water quality and improving our water quality to large agencies like the Environmental Protection Agency. We need people on the ground to help out in this area, and one of the ways you can do that is through your local Rivers Trust. By getting involved, they carry out projects on the rivers, they carry out monitoring on the rivers, so they look at the river quality, they look at the plants in the rivers, they look at the animals in the rivers, and then they look and try and identify things that are happening locally that may be impacting on water quality. Rivers Trusts have been very successful in the UK and in Ireland in getting local people together, getting local people to identify themselves what's happening on their rivers and to identify solutions to those problems that they implement themselves with outside help from other agencies.